I'm a program manager with the Active Directory Group in Windows Division. On behalf of Microsoft, I wish to extend a warm welcome to Paramahansa Sri Nithyananda Swami from India, whom we affectionately refer to as Swami. Today, I also have the honor of introducing Swami to you. He has mastered the techniques to control the mind, to manage the mind, the techniques that help unleash the potential of the mind. What I mean by that is intuition, creative visualization, and various other things he will be explaining to you shortly. The techniques that can be put to use in a corporate environment like ours. The techniques that lie latent in every person. He is sharing it with the whole world. We have 400 centers in 20 different countries all over the world that teach and practice these techniques in everyday life. Today, he is here to show you how they can apply to the problems that we face in this corporate setup that we have day-to-day problems. We often face many complex problems being in the field that we are in, many never seen before situations that do not have any precedents. If you have a precedent, we know how to react. If you don't have a precedent, what do you rely on? A gut feel, an intuition, that's what we call a gut feel that has no proof that it will work, no conclusive evidence it will work, but you think it will work. But there are various kinds of gut feels. There are some that pretty much ends up being reckless. There are some, if used properly, ends up being the best thing to do. Like Bill Gates did. He never had a clue whether spending $50,000 upfront to get software from a company and licensing it for $1 a piece to IBM would work. He had a gut feel it would. It would have been reckless if it did not work, right? Exactly that. Intuition, how do you capitalize on it? Swami's theory is that we all had it when we were children. We just lost it halfway through. When did we lose it? How do we get it back? That's what he's going to be talking about today. He's going to talk about the theory and science behind the intuition. Then he'll have an open discussion with you. You, the audience, can bet on the concepts directly with him and hear directly from him how you can make it better. And of course, optionally, you could also practice the mind control techniques that he's going to be explaining today. He will take with you an understanding as to how to rely on intuition, not just on instinct, how to tap your intuition into furthering your intelligence and executing on it. Intuition leads to innovation, innovation to results. After all, that's what we are here for. I don't want to take any much more time. I now hand over to Swami who will take it further from here. Thank you.
Welcome you all. My love and respects. It's nice to be with you all. Intuition, wonderful subject. In the modern day, again and again, when you ask the successful CEOs how they took the major decisions, or the decisions which turned their life, which is the main reason for their success, again and again their answers surprises us. Again and again they say something beyond intellect happened in them that gave them the energy or the gut, you can say the guts, to take this decision. Not only with successful CEOs, even with scientists. The other day I had the chance to have a lunch with Dr. Charles Towns, who is a Nobel Prize winner. He did a big research and gave a breakthrough in the field of laser and measure. I asked him, sir, how could you do this? How you were able to do? How it happened to you? He said, beautiful way. I was just sitting in a park in Washington, D.C. Suddenly something happened, like a revelation. The conclusion was there in me. Suddenly it was revealed to me. I bent down what I experienced. Now I had a big difficulty. I know the conclusion, but I don't know the steps. I was not able to present this to anybody else because I know only the conclusion. I don't know the steps. He says something like revelation happened to me. And not only with Dr. Charles Towns, again with Einstein. Einstein says, whatever new thing has happened through me is just based on intuition, not based on intellect. And he says a beautiful saying. I brought that saying for you. One of his quotation. The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Whether we believe it or not, accept it or not, there is something called intuition. Of course, even Einstein says this is a gift because he doesn't know. We are not sure when it will come, whether it will come or not. But yogis, the mystics, again and again say, you can have intuition as a salary, means you can work for it. And you can be sure about it. You don't have to think intuition is a gift. You can work for it. It can become part of your life. Whatever new thing has happened, it has happened only through intuition. It has happened only when something happens beyond your intellect. Means your whole being is integrated. You are at your peak. When you are at your peak, something opens. You may call it as revelation or intuition, which happens beyond intellect. Yogis have again and again said it is a science. If you can tune yourself to this intuition or to this energy which is continuously available in your being, you can use this in your regular life. In the West, intuition is always an accident. Once in a while, it happens. With yogis, again and again they say it is an incident. You can make it happen. They know how to make this happen. Today we will see what is intuition, how the mind works, and how we can awaken that power inside our being. A small diagram I'll try to present how usually our mind works. With a small example, I'll try to explain how the mind works, how you process the information in your mind. For example, you see something. First, the eye sees. Next, in Sanskrit, we call this part as chakshu. It's almost like a digital signal processor, like a DSP. There's something called chakshu. The signal, visual input, is converted as a digital file. Then it goes to memory. In Sanskrit, we call it as chitta. When it goes to memory, little more work is done on that file. For example, if you are seeing me now, the file is processed through Chakshu, then it is taken to Chitta, memory. The memory first starts analyzing. It first excludes. First it starts thinking, starts saying, oh, this is not an animal, this is not a plant, this is not a rock. All that exclusion, all the excluding process is done by the Chitta, by memory. Next, the file goes to mind. We call in Sanskrit manas. The mind starts processing. Now it says, mind comes to a conclusion, this is human being or a person who is taking classes. Next, your mind starts associating all your memories, the earlier classes which you attended, something to do with yoga or meditation or this type of intuitive management, all those things you try to associate. Then next, the whole file takes a quantum leap, and then your ego decides based on your past experiences. If your past experiences with some yoga, meditation, these management classes are okay, if you are happy with those classes, if you think that it has helped, you decide to sit, or you think this is not for me, you take the decision. The decision is taken by ego. Understand this one process. You are seeing me, I takes the file to Chakshu. Chakshu converts the whole thing into a digital signal. Just like a digital signal, the conversion happens inside your being. And then the file goes to memory. Memory does only one thing, excluding. This is not, this is not, this is not. Only that is done by memory. Identification is done by mind. This is it. Is done by mind, manas. Then the whole file takes a quantum leap. You decide your past experiences helped you or how you felt. Based on that, now you decide whether to sit here or to leave the hall. And now, the gap between the I and the mind, this process is conscious. You are aware of that process. From I to mind, it happens with your awareness. You are conscious about it. But this mind to ego, that process, you are not conscious about it. Many times, the process happens, mind to ego process happens so unconsciously, you decide against your logic. You decide against your thought process. For example, according to the data which you collected, you know for sure smoking is injurious to health. It's not good for your body. It's not good for your mind. But when the file takes a quantum leap, unconscious process happens. Simply you decide to smoke. Conscious process says, no, it is not good for health. But unconscious process says, it never even says, it just gives the decision and you execute. Many times, the decisions are not under your control because the unconscious is very powerful. Unconscious is very, very powerful. See, the unconscious can be used in three ways. In instinct level, in intellect level, and intuition level. As long as the unconscious is filled with negative memories and restlessness, it works in the instinct level. You decide just instinctively. You don't even know why you are angry. Suddenly you show your anger. Suddenly you burst. Sometime you feel some activities or some words which you speak, you feel this is not me. You do something, after that you think this is not me. How did I do this? How did I allow this to happen? How did I make this decision? This happens because the unconscious is working in the instinct level. Many times you just associate things without even logic connection, without even consciously. For example, if you are disturbed by somebody who was with white dress, the moment you see somebody wearing white dress, the same memory comes and you feel the anger. You feel like not being around him, or you feel that you just wanted to burst. This is the instinct level, without even your conscious mind, without even your understanding. Just like that it happens. If your unconscious is too much loaded, if your unconscious is restless, you behave the instinct level. Another one, intellect. Most of us behave either instinct or intellect level. Another one is intellect. Okay with conscious, but you don't have enough of enthusiasm. You just go, alright, you just go okay with conscious mind, but you are not creating, you are not innovative, you don't take big steps, you don't grow. It is just like a faithful servant, as Albert Einstein says. The intellect is a faithful servant. You can be a servant throughout your life. You can be just a servant, but nothing more can happen through you. Nothing big will happen through us. It is just, you will be collecting the data, you will be processing it and delivering it. Nothing more than a computer. And if we are standing only in the intellect level, we are not using our potential maximum to the extent which is it is to be used. The next is intuition. This is very, you need little deep understanding. You need to go deep into this whole science. Only then you will be able to understand what I mean by the word intuition. Intuition is something which happens to you beyond your intellect. Suddenly you know for sure that this is the right thing, and you have enough energy also to do it, but you don't know the step. Because this unconscious is always quantum leap. You don't know the step, how you came to that conclusion, but you know for sure this is right. This energy is needed whenever you face a situation when there was no precedence and you have very minimum data. With that minimum data you have to take decision and there was no precedence. In this type of situation, another one, you have a lot of choices. You are not able to decide what you are supposed to do. In these type of situations, the intuition energy can help you. The intuition power can give you the courage or give you the right choice. The intuition again and again gives you the energy not only to decide, to execute what you have decided. People ask me, Swamiji, how to find out whether I am having intuition or I am just intellectual. Sometimes I am confused. Is it intuition or intellectual? I tell them, if you are confused, be very clear, it is just intellectual. The very confusion shows it is only intellectual. When you have the intuition, when you experience intuition, not only you get the intellectual clarity, not only you get the answer, you get enough of power to execute it. You don't know. You just have the power. The potential power which is inside your being is just unleashed. You open up, and just like that, you start expressing it. You start executing it. Now, the next question, how to awaken the intuition? How to awaken the intuition power? If we can consciously give rest to our conscious mind, usually our conscious mind never rests. If we can give consciously rest to our conscious mind for a while, the energy which is in that unconscious level will open up. And usually when the unconscious level energy opens up, first whatever we suppress will come out. Next will come a pure energy which we call intuition. When pure energy starts coming up from the unconscious level, you don't use the unconscious in the instinct level or intellect level. You use it for intuition. The higher level energy starts happening in you. And of course, above all, yogis do believe the higher level energy heals you physically, mentally and emotionally. Apart from healing, mainly I wanted you to concentrate and understand this can help to reduce the stress and to decide spontaneously. See, the spontaneity has nothing to do with data which you collect. It is something to do with the way in which you process the data. The same data, same information can be processed in many ways. Intuition is all about how you process and how you come to the conclusion beyond your intellect. We can prepare ourselves, we can tune ourselves to this intuition energy through techniques, through methods which we call meditation. In the East, we use the word meditation. Just to tune yourself to this higher energy of your being, which continuously, again and again, invites you to experience it. Whenever you find time and sit with yourself, you can always see some part of your being. If at all, if you have given appointment to yourself, actually we give appointment to everybody. We never give appointment to ourselves. If you have given appointment to yourself, you can always feel some part of your being wants to express, wants to do something more than what you are doing. But we never give chance or the time to that part, to that portion of our being. We are so much caught up with intellect. We think intellect is ultimate. But again and again, yogis prove something more than intellect is possible. And any discovery or invention, you can see the role of intuition is always there. Whether it is Einstein or Newton also, he had something beyond his intellect. See, every one of our garden, apple falls, but none of us have become Newton. Something beyond mind has happened to him. Something more than intellect has happened to him, which can happen in every one of us. It is not that it can happen only to Newton or Einstein. It can happen to every one of us. If we can tune ourselves to that energy. Tuning ourselves to that energy is what I call meditation. At the end of the session, we'll have a very practical session which can awaken this intuition in you just with few days of practice. When I say few days, I just mean 2-3 days. 2-3 days is more than enough to tune yourself to this intuition. As of now, we are using our unconscious energy either in instinct level or in intellect level. It can be tuned and you can use it in the intuition level to make the decisions, creativity, whatever you call. Now, I request you all to analyze these few theories with your questions. We'll try to analyze this with our question answer. So anybody wants to put any question, you are welcome. Then we'll go for the practical technique. You are welcome to put questions.
Anybody that has a question, please speak on the microphone so everybody else that's listening via Windows Media can also hear the questions. I have a question here.
Swamiji, good afternoon. You said to feel the unconscious or to unleash the intuition or other powers in our being, one has to rest consciously the conscious mind. So, is there a way we can do it?
Yes, that is what I call meditation. Consciously resting means thoughtless awareness. I'll make a small diagram. I'll explain. See, we have two levels of consciousness and two levels of thought. For example, now you have thoughts. In the deep sleep, do you have thoughts? No.
I don't know.
Surely not. That's why you are able to sleep. And now you have something called eye consciousness. The feeling of eye. The deep sleep, surely it is not there. If it is there, we can't sleep. These two states of being and level of mind crisscrosses each other and creates four states. For example, with eye consciousness and with thoughts, what we call waking state. Waking. Now, what you are experiencing is waking state. You have eye consciousness and thoughts both. Next thing, without eye consciousness, with thoughts, is what we call dream. You see, in the dream, you have thoughts, but eye consciousness is less. The frequency of thoughts is more than frequency of eye consciousness. That is why, in the dream, you are not able to control your dreams. Only dreams will happen as it wants. In the waking state, you can control your thoughts. In the dream state, you can't control your thoughts. The intensity or the frequency of eye consciousness is less than frequency of thoughts in the dream state. The third thing, You neither have eye consciousness nor have thoughts. That's what we call deep sleep. Deep sleep. And there's a fourth state which we never experienced. That is what I call intuition or meditation. You have eye consciousness but no thoughts. You have eye consciousness but no thoughts. This is what I call meditation or intuition, whatever. In Sanskrit we call it samadhi. You have eye consciousness but no thoughts, thoughtless awareness. If we can experience this zone, the fourth state, we can experience the different consciousness, what I call beyond intellect, the bliss or the peace or the intuition, whatever you may name it. We can experience this fourth state with this. See, the practical use of this fourth state is, it can give you so much of creativity, so much of courage, so much of confidence. You can decide spontaneously. Ability to take spontaneous decision is what I call responsibility. The more you are able to decide spontaneously, the more you become responsible. There are so many situations you can't work just with data. There are so many situations that, first of all, data will not be available, or very limited data will be available. You will not be able to have the decisions taken by elders or earlier person. There will be no precedence. So in that type of situations, you need something more than what you call intellect. You need something beyond just your data. You need what I call the thoughtless awareness. If you can experience even the glimpse, not only your life in your office or in your corporate level, even your relationships can totally change. You see, even the relationship failures happen because of our reactive mind. The reactive mind, when I use the word reactive mind, unconscious mind, there are two things. One is collecting all the arguments and then passing judgment. Another one is, your judgment is ready, you just collect arguments to support your judgment. When we are unconscious, when we are instinct, judgment is ready. You just want the arguments to support your judgment. You decide he or she is wrong. Then you go around collecting some arguments to support your judgment. It means you are only working in the instinct level. We are only working in the instinct level. Sometimes the instinct and intuition will look the same. People ask me how to differentiate something. With intuition, you will feel tremendously energetic, alive. With instinct, you will feel you are drained. Whenever you decide without using intellect and feel drained, be very clear, you are working in instinct level. Many times, our anger and other emotions, we just decide instinctively. Then we understand, oh, why did I do this? You create guilt. Guilt is the gift from unconsciousness or instinct level decisions. If we can experience this fourth state, what I call meditation, surely we'll be able to harvest the energy which is in our being, which I call intuition. And you can use the equivalent psychological terms. For waking, you can say conscious. For dream, subconscious. Deep sleep, unconscious. Of course, the fourth state, meditation, has no word, because psychology could not go so deep. So they have no word for this meditation. In Sanskrit, we call the waking as Jagrat, dream as Swapna, deep sleep as Sushupti, meditation as Turiya, fourth state. So all you need to experience is this thoughtless awareness. That is what I mean. Consciously resting. Yes. And put this table just to make you understand. There is something called consciously resting. Thoughtless awareness. There is something. You may not have experienced, but there is something. Yes.
Where does intuition come from?
From you. It can't come from anybody else. Surely only from you. Because we have not experienced that zone, that part, that dimension of our being, we forgot it. There is something called intuition exists. You see, for example, small thing. Somebody asked me in one seminar, Swamiji, many times it happens in my life. When I hear the knock on the door, suddenly I remember some friend's name. When I go and open, the same person is standing. When a phone rings, or when my cell phone rings, suddenly I remember somebody's name, whom I have not seen for 2-3 years. But when I pick up, he is there on the line. And when I am sitting in a party, suddenly I feel that particular person is going to come after a few minutes. That person is there after a few minutes. That person asked me, how it is happening? Many times I experienced this, how it is happening. In that same group, I asked, how many of you have experienced this same thing at least once in your life? More than 70% people raised their hands. Now I can ask, how many of you experienced like this something in your life at least once? Again, you can see more than 70-80%. One thing, if it happens in somebody's life once, we can call this as coincidence. But 70% cannot be coincidence. 80% cannot be coincidence. You understand? There is something more to it. There is a logic behind it. There must be something behind it. We may not be able to know logically, but it is not that there is nothing. See, when you know the logic, you call it as incident. When you don't know, you just call it as coincident. I tell you, there is nothing happens without cause. The planet Earth, nothing can happen without cause. It is always cause and effect. When you know the cause and effect link, you call it as incident. When you don't know, you call it as coincident. So there cannot be anything called coincident. There is something which happens only from you. When this has happened from you, intuition also has to happen only from you. Let me explain how that happens. How you come upon that moment. Suddenly you feel that somebody is going to come and he is there. And not only that, sometimes you will feel weird. You go to some new place, some of your friend's house or somewhere. Suddenly you feel you visited the same place already. And you know in which room which things are there. And which room is which side. And you can exactly put the plan. But it will be there as you saw. This also happens many times in our life. How can it be? How can this happen? How many of you experienced like this? At least once. So many people. How can this be just coincident? Let me explain how this happens. Knowingly or unknowingly, you just fall consciously into the deep restful state. Knowingly or unknowingly, you just fall into this fourth state for a moment. For a moment, you experience that thoughtless awareness. The thoughtless awareness can happen to you whenever you are blissful. Whenever you are blissful, or when you are totally relaxing, the thoughtless awareness can happen to you. Whenever you have a glimpse of intuition, see, intuition is not something away from you. It again and again happens to you. Only thing, we take these things as coincidence and brush it aside. We don't give enough importance to it, and we don't encourage our being to grow in that line. Whatever you brush aside, it never grows. You need to encourage it. You need to allow it to happen to you. For example, when your child starts speaking, unless you sit and listen, it will not again and again speak to you. If you just brush it aside, if you just brush him aside, he will only He has to keep quiet. Nothing else can be done. Same way, your being tries to relate with you again and again through these small incidents. If you can encourage it, if you can recognize it, naturally, it will express the higher dimension, what we call intuition. When we don't encourage, when we brush it aside, in the name of, this is just a coincidence. When we brush it aside, we are not encouraging the higher dimension of our being. Whenever you experience that intuition or the small glimpse of intuition in your life, you are falling in the state, what I call meditation. You fall in the state, thoughtless awareness, conscious without thoughts. You fall into that state. You can fall into that state accidentally. Accidentally you can fall into that state. That is the way all the scientists, they experience the thoughtless awareness state accidentally. But now we have enough techniques. Why should it be accidental? You can make it as a reality, a day-to-day life. So whenever you experience the thoughtless awareness, without your knowledge, you come upon this type of glimpse of intuition. It always happens only from your being.
I just have a follow-up question.
Yes.
The reason I asked that question is because in a similar session, the Swamiji had said that the knowledge in the Vedas comes not from an education system, but from a higher source of intelligence, and that is acquired through a system that is beyond five senses and logic.
That is what we call.
So I was wondering if intuition comes from the same place.
Yes, same. Intuition is also from same. You see, it's like if somebody creates a formula to reproduce the same experience which happens in the outer world, he is called scientist. If somebody creates a formula to reproduce the same experience which happens in the inner world, he is called rishi. If you create a formula to reproduce the same thing in the outer world, writing software or anything, you are called scientist. If you create a formula to reproduce the experience which happens in the inner world, you are called rishi. So meditation is nothing but a formula to reproduce the same intuition which is experienced in the inner world. What you experienced, we are trying to create a formula to deepen it, to reproduce it again and again in a deeper level in your being. The meditation is nothing but a technique or a formula to reproduce what happens to you at the time of intuition, what happens to you when you have a glimpse of what is going to happen. The same thing in a deeper level, in a great level, we are trying to create it in your being. Yes.
Hello. Swamiji, in a team environment, if you make an intuitive decision, do you have a recommendation to address the challenge of buying in other people, or if you can't explain how you got to the decision?
One more thing, along with intuition, you get enough of energy, courage to convince others. You see, where do you think the conflict raise? The conflict always raise when you are not able to look into each other's eyes. When we are not honest, only then conflict raises. I tell you, all conflict starts only inside. When it starts from inside, it expresses in the outside. And when intuition happens, you will be so clear about it. And this Dr. Charles Towns, I asked him, sir, you say you had a revelation. I can accept because I know. I can sympathize with your idea. But how did scientific community accepted you? He said, after that I have to sit and work to create the path or how I arrived to the conclusion. When I did that, community naturally accepted. One more thing, when intuition happens to you, you will have enough of intelligence to create that path also. You will be able to create the logical path. How you came to this? conclusion, and naturally you will be able to present it logically. When it happens in intuitive level. When you can express, you can always express with the intellect. And one more thing, whenever intuition happens, your intellect also gets sharpened to express it. Intuition is an experience. When you express, again, you will have enough energy to express it. It's after all energy. Energy is intelligence. Your being is intelligence. One more thing, we never trust our being is intelligent. We always measure our being only based on our weakest link. For example, if you just look your being, and if you weigh yourself, you weigh only based on our weakest link. You are not your weakest link. Please be very clear. You are something more than your weakest link. A chain can be measured, the strength of a chain can be measured only based on the weakest link. But strength of your being can't be measured based on the weakest link. We always measure based on our weakest link. It is not the reality. You are something more than what you think you are. Yes.
You said that when you're in a dream state, you can't control your thoughts. How does one cause himself to control his thoughts to get to the waking state?
How does one?
How does one control his thoughts so that he can get to the waking state?
He can get to the waking state.
Yeah.
In the waking state, you will be able to control your thoughts. In the dream state, you will not be able to control. The moment you try to control, you will come back to waking state. It's a nature. It's a nature. See, dream state is like a catharsis. You need to relax. That is, you need some time in which you can just go wild. Because you are so controlled, you need to have something to come out of your being. Dream is an area in which you use to express whatever is suppressed. For example, if you are fasting for 2-3 days, you will have a feast in the dream. Whatever you suppress, they come up with the dreams. There is some part of your being, there must be some part of your being. You must give enough time to dream so that the catharsis can happen. Too much of steam or too much of things should not be suppressed in you. It's like a safety valve. Too much of steam is not good. So you need to open up. So I feel it is good if the dreams are not under your control. Now I'm hearing new theory, harvesting the power of dreams and all those things. Not only they are very dangerous, I am seeing the result. They are creating a lot of side effects. You are not resting even in your dreams. You must have a little time for yourself. You must have a little time for yourself. So allow the dreams to be as they are. Please give some time for yourself.
Swami, my question is kind of related to this last question and the fourth state. I often find if I go to sleep with a problem on my mind, I will wake up with a solution in the morning, or maybe at like 3 o'clock in the morning or something.
If you are after that solution, do you feel relaxed and calm?
I generally, if I wake up, I have kind of a passion to get it done.
No, when you get up
Right.
and have the solution in your mind, after that, how you feel? You feel relaxed, comfortable, happy, or you feel irritated, hangover that you have not slept properly, you have not rested properly. How do you feel?
You mean when I'm going to sleep, or?
No, when you come out.
I feel well because I have the solution. If I go to sleep and I don't wake up with a solution a lot of the time, I feel like I didn't sleep well.
So when you come out with solution, you feel comfortable.
Yes,
Physically, how do you feel? You feel that you are rested?
I would say yes.
Yes, then it's okay. Then carry on. Then it means you are not working on your dreams. The solution comes from intuition. See, you can decide only the after effect, based on the after effect. If you are feeling dull, tired, disturbed, you have not slept, then you must stop this practice. You must give some time for yourself. And now modern day psychologists, they say, more than 14 days, if your dreams are continuously disturbed, there is every possibility you will be emotionally imbalanced. So we must allow some time to dream also. We must allow some time to dream also.
I have a question. So you mentioned that if you
Yes, please.
so if you experience the intuition, you will feel energetic to convey to other people what you have, right? And but why from time to time we feel that we feel something happened before, as many people have raised their hands, say, I feel that, but at the end they thought that that's just a coincidence. It's just some instant. So looks like for us we tend to have doubt on ourselves instead.
Why we doubt ourselves?
Yeah, we have the doubt of the feeling.
From the young age, you are taught. From the young age, you are taught to suppress yourself, to doubt yourself, to question yourself. You are not allowed to believe yourself. For some reason, I don't know, we are not allowed to believe ourselves. I think that is one of the important reasons why again and again we take things for granted. We don't trust ourselves. So I feel in the low level, in the initial level, questioning yourself is okay. But in some higher level, you need to trust yourself. Too much questioning yourself makes you schizophrenia. Makes you as a split personality. One side is doing one thing, the other side is just condemning that. I think we need to do some work or patch up work with ourselves. Jesus says beautifully, love thy neighbor as you love thyself. But we never even love ourselves. Where to love others? So we need to love ourselves. We need to do some patch up work with ourselves first. That's why I always tell people, first integrate yourself, then you can go for integrating others. Integrating ourselves is what I call meditation. Meditation is nothing but integrating ourselves. When you integrate yourself, naturally you start experiencing the peak of intellect. See, the peak of instinct is intellect. The peak of intellect is intuition. When you integrate, you start growing. The more you integrate, you start growing.
Swamiji, there are so many thousands of books written on meditative practices and this technique, and there's candles, and there's breathing, and there's TM and all that. Does it matter what path you take?
It's a nice question. If I ask you, there are so many softwares, there are so many versions, which one should I use? What will you say? One that works honestly? Now what you think is working? No, what I am saying. What you naturally will say, what you have written, what you have done, is only what will work. Because only that you know. Only that you know. People may think that you are marketing your product, but we can't help because you know only that. You don't know about other things much. You understand? Same way, you may think I am marketing mind, but I have no other way. I know only mind. I don't know the other books. I don't know the other things too deeply. But all I know is mind. I can give you a simple technique now before ending the session, which you can practice in your regular life, which can awaken this intuition and give you all the positive effects of meditation or samadhi.
Good afternoon, Swamiji. So let's say I have some intuition. How do I execute the intuition positively without going back on, without doubting what I got into my mind?
See, the moment you start doubting, it is not intuition. And one more thing, the moment you get the intuition, this question will not be there. How will I execute and all those things? These all are again and again done with a mind which oscillates this side and that side. This side and that side means you are an intellect level. So when intuition happens, it happens from a totally different plane. different level. Even though you are not able to trust, it is there in yourself. Because your own experience says, more than 80% of your experience, the intuition already, at least once in your life. So it is there. It is there. Only when it happens, you will be able to understand this question. These are the if question can never be answered.